Howdy, fellow movie fans, and welcome to this special review of Zootopia 2, brought to you by the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast. I'm your host, Evan Davies, running solo for all these reviews, and this is brought to you by PTE Creative. So let's jump right into our Zootopia 2 review. I saw that earlier today. Actually, it was really fun. I work in an after-school program, day off camp, because it's the day before Thanksgiving, so we got to take all the kids to the movie. So usually, my movie experiences in the theater while working kind of suck, I'm not going to lie. Last year's Dogman was quite possibly the worst experience I've ever had in a theater in my life. Not the case here. I thought Zootopia was actually pretty fun. Now, before I go into further detail, I will say on every review, I tend to do spoiler-free, always right up the top, and then I go to spoilers in the back. I don't think Zootopia 2 even merits a spoiler conversation. You'll be shocked that some of the content is exactly what you think it'll be. But let's go into a bit more of a review, just to flesh it out a little bit. I think Zootopia 2, my expectations were actually very low. It's not that Zootopia 1 doesn't set a good table for itself. It does. I think Zootopia is actually one of the better Disney Pixar films in the past 15 years, honestly. But admittedly, a lot of the Disney Powerhouse stuff lately is not hitting the way people think it is, right? Now, I see Disney Pixar. The reason I was looking away is I was looking for Disney Studios just by itself. There's no Pixar involvement, actually. But again, it's so hard because they've kind of taken that Pixar animation style and just brought it over to Walt Disney Studios. So really the only thing that changes is some of the teams change between films. But Zootopia 1 does set a good playing field, and then inherently, with a lot of the track record of animation over the last 20 years, when you make a really high-quality animated film that goes past just beyond being a silly kids movie into a really family-oriented film with jokes and content for adults, and really entertains the full audience that can be in the theater, not just those of the age of 7, 8, 9, and down, that really brings the quality of the film up a lot of the case, and Zootopia is one of those. So my standards went low because, frankly, it's just not a good track record over the last 20 years of films actually hitting that same pace, or at least getting very close, or outdoing themselves. Long gone are the days of the Toy Story and the Toy Story 2 where you go, oh, whoa, okay, we're playing a different ballgame. Then you go to Toy Story 3 and you're like, whoa, okay, they just keep upping the game, and now we see the results of Toy Story 4 and 5. So that's kind of the outward trajectory. I mean, Frozen, say what you will, I don't think it's that great of a movie, but the music was impeccable and really did create a fun narrative and something different for Disney. And then Frozen 2 is just kind of another Disney sequel. Moana 2, similar. So there's this thing with Disney sequels lately where it just really feels like we're farming for money. And I don't think Zootopia actually is that with its second film. I think it's actually quite fun and an enjoyable experience. One of the things I absolutely loved about it was they found another way to tell the story of Prejudiced and the Other while also furthering the characters they had in the first one. It's so easy in a lot of these films where it's found family, found friends, the odd couple that shouldn't work ends up working because they care about each other. Whatever the case may be, when we look at our two main characters, they just became partners like a week prior to this. It's kind of crazy in storyline, in world, even though it's been almost a decade since the first Zootopia movie. So I was assuming we were going to get our basic, oh, okay, yep, they're going to have their troubles and they're going to break up, but it was really more of a vulnerability. And just outwardly saying it and showing therapy scenes, which I actually really enjoyed, especially as someone who's gone through therapy, and it's really benefited my life as well. So that was a fun little twist there to have there, but at the same time, it's still double downing on the message, which I really like. It's so much easier for studios, for productions in general, to say, okay, we've covered that. We're going to move to a different topic. And instead, Zootopia 2 goes, no, we're going to double down. we're not going to let them think that, oh, we've solved all prejudice just by the first film. And now it's more just bad guys being bad guys. No, they still tell a tale of prejudice and how people take advantage of prejudice, again, in a way that is still unique and interesting. And they still do a really good job of showcasing different animals while they're doing it, to showcase different elements of our modern society, which I really, really find not only touching, but thoroughly enjoyable, because you feel like you're also getting to experience a little bit of a different culture here. And I get it. It's a stretch because it's animation, it's anthropomorphized animals, and it's a cartoony version of what culture can be. And I get that. But if this is an exposure to something different for kids, for families, it's a good thing. It just is, because it's told in a way that is respectful. It's not in a, they tell jokes at the local yokel. I should say, this isn't really spoiler territory. One of the things they do when they have to go off on the adventure to kind of solve another case is they have to go towards like a bayou country where they have a lot of sea-based mammals and sea-based animals and reptiles. Reptiles are kind of the focus of prejudice here, where reptiles aren't here. And it's odd because they go to the bayou, so they kind of talk about a southern bias that is against southerners, which is very real. But at the same time, they talk about reptiles as if they're extremely far away, almost as if it is, societies from, in terms of an American culture, from Africa, from Asia, from especially Western Asia and the Middle East. It really kind of gives that vibe of not trusting people and giving this vibe of, oh, we don't hate them, but we just outwardly don't trust them because of the history of the people from there. And nothing could be further from the truth of a basis of reality in terms of what should be done versus what is done. And it was really nice to see them play with those real modern ways of doing it, and also showcasing a character that's voiced by Ke Quan, which immediately put me into a happy place, because I love Ke Quan. I'm glad he continued to get work, especially in the Disney family. And to hear him voice this very timid but determined character, and this very hopeful character, he has just such a wonderfully pleasant and welcoming voice that makes you garner hope and makes you want to be hopeful. That I think he was a perfect cast for our reptile character. That's the snake that's being used in the 2 designs and everything else. It was so wonderful to get that, and to tell a story with reptilians and sea-based mammals that's completely different from our land-based mammals that we saw in Zootopia 1, and still tell somewhat of a new story, but also stick to the roots, stick to the basics that work, and continue hitting home the point. Prejudice doesn't just go away because we have one great experience or we have one leap forward. For every step forward we take with race relations and prejudice in general in fixing society, we continually have to take steps back to keep moving forward. It's just the history that we go through as human beings. And to see that even in a film that's meant for children but is far more of a welcoming family film, excellent. I really appreciated this, and I thought they did it in a tactful and respectful way. And yes, is it basic and can almost hit you over the head sometimes? Yes, it's a great way to make it understand, but it's still not as simple as just they bad, we good, okay, cool, oh, we were wrong. They go into some more detail about that, while also telling a very personal story about 2 people who are the most important people in each other's lives, or characters, I should say, not people, but 2 characters that are the most important people in each other's lives, and actively what their own behavior does to belittle or harm the other person, what's the aim behind that, and what's the feelings they really are trying to get at, so that we can be better for each other. And I really like that, and I also think we're setting the seeds for Zootopia 3 as well. There are some hints of maybe a romantic relationship between our fox and bunny, but they didn't really go there. It was just more of a noticing each other as something more than just, oh, friendly partner. They notice each other's traits a little bit more. They really, truly care about each other, which is really nice to see in the film. And I thoroughly enjoyed that aspect. The other thing I loved was there's so many great nods and so many great jokes of details in the background. Things, if you're looking for them, can pick up and have a lot of fun. The mouse mobster character kind of returns. And his chair has, as the knobs on the armrests are blocks of cheese. You wouldn't notice that right away, but it's a great little touch. They're in a purse factory, and it's, they're in New Jersey, which is spelled GNU for the animal. So they have Nucci instead of Gucci, but they also have, which is a fun little nod, but then they have on the side completely legitimate purses, clearly showcasing the world that we live in today, where so many people, quote unquote, have designer bags, have designer clothing as a status symbol, and it's total bullshit. And it's really, really fun to see that played out here. A lot of great fun nods to other films in here as well. There's a really self-referential and self-aware joke here where we have kind of a somewhat of a shady character selling bootleg sequel movies to famous movies in the Zootopia universe, and they say that the studios and the movies are going downhill and it's all sequels, but I think it's all great. Just really quick 5-second interlude in a big chase scene, but it's a great just little, if you're paying attention and you know it, and someone like me who's doing film criticism all the time and talking about the problem that they're addressing there in that joke on a weekly basis now, it's really fun to be like, no, we get it too. And we're trying not to do that with this film. It was a fun little nod there. I absolutely loved it. There's also a great nod to The Shining at the end of the film that is so abundantly clear. They're not trying to hide it like some of the other ones, just trying to Easter egg it. That one's so abundantly clear, and they're going to play with it, and I really, really enjoy that. And there's also another character that's trying to belong in a different way, which I really appreciate, where they're trying to belong for all the wrong reasons, because they feel abandoned, because they feel like they're not enough. And I really like the fact that they played the counter-argument so often here, where it wasn't just, I want to do good and prove people wrong because I don't belong and I want to show we do belong. It was also, I want to show this one specific group that I do belong and I'm not supposed to be shunned. I'm not supposed to be treated poorly. I can do what you do too, and it's not always for good reasons. And I really appreciated seeing those elements play out of the film as well. It was really fun. Overall, I think it's a really enjoyable experience, and it would be towards the upper half of the films I've watched this year. And it was wonderful to actually get to see this in a room full of children, which most adults would never say in a theater, but it was really fun to actually get more of what the true audience is supposed to be for this film in the experience. Because so many times I would laugh and I would snicker, and the kids I had around me, they're kids that know me really well. They know my sense of humor. They know things, but they're just like, "Why are you laughing at that?" And it's just because they haven't learned the source material or the basis for the joke that I'm laughing at yet. It's not because they are foolish or anything. It's just they don't know it yet. So it was really fun to get that experience and also go, "Oh, there's stuff for me here too." As an adult, it's not turning into traditional sequel garbage. It's turning into something fun and unique and different. Still, unique is a stretch, but it's still a fun, enjoyable film, worthwhile. I think it's certainly, if you're looking for a more family-friendly option for the Thanksgiving holiday to go to, this is 10 times better to go to and more enjoyable than Wicked for Good, in my opinion, which, if you've seen that review, I'm sure you may have if you're watching these reviews. I think this is a really, really great option for the holiday, and you should enjoy it. And it's just a fun, wonderful experience to have. So, hope you guys enjoy the film. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving if you're going right away to the theater, or go on holiday first and then go to the theater. No matter what, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And love yourself because you need to. Thanks so much for watching. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Goodbye!